G'day everyone. It's been a while since I've actually done a video, so I thought I'd put together a slider. So it's basically a popper, but the head's reversed, so I'm going to do that. And the materials I'm using, well, the heads are a Rainey's product, and they're called DInks, D-I-N-K-S, and this is the smaller size for about a size 10 hook. Well, I'm using slightly bigger than that, but this is a size 6. So the idea is that the head goes on that way instead of the other way. If you do it the other way, obviously it becomes a popper. This way it's called a slider. So the other materials, just for the tail, I'm just going to be using some marabou, in this case black. And then I'm just going to use a soft hackle feather here, one of these, for to palmer around just behind the popper, and just a little bit of pearl crystal flash just in the tail. Okay, so all I've done so far is I've got the hook obviously, and I'm using a stainless steel hook. You can use a Stinger hook, a B10S or TMCO 8089, whatever. The reason I'm using stainless steel is obviously they last longer than some of the Stinger hooks, which are meant for fresh water. So you could use this in both salt and fresh water. The thread I'm using is just a black 6/0 Danville's. So let's start on it. So first thing is just a tail, and you really don't want a lot of marabou for the tail. You only want, a small patch. All we're doing with the tail is just trying to get that little bit of movement. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie this in towards the bend. Alright, just like that. And I'm just going to put a little bit of crystal flash on either side. You don't need a lot of flash. Flash is optional. Some flies I don't use any flash at all. I just rely on the action of the popper and not so much on attracting fish using the flash. So let me just get that organised. And again, so all I'm doing is I'm just cutting it in half, because obviously it's a fairly small tail for a size 6 hook. Then all I'm going to do is just tie it on either side of the marabou. And then the same on the other side. Take it across, tie it in. Alright, so there we go, I've got a little bit of flash now. The excess marabou, I'm just going to twist it like so. And that way you get a cleaner cut and you don't have bits of marabou flying everywhere. So there you go. That's that. Just tie all that down so you can see the flash there. Now obviously the head's going to come back a fair way. So all I'm going to do between here and the head is fill that with the palmered feather of the soft hackle. So pick one that's an appropriate size in terms of length, that's going to get you all the way to that popper head. Alright, so here we go, I've got it. All I'm doing is I'm going to grab the tips, pull that back, and just leave a little bit at the tip like that, if you can see that, and that's what I'm going to tie in. Alright, so I'm going to tie that tip in so that the feathers line up to the marabou. Alright, now that's not going to move. Alright, so then I'm just going to grab the feather and I'm going to have curve facing towards the back of the hook, curve in the feather, and then I'm just going to start wrapping that round the hook, and you'll see it starts to form a collar, and that's what we want. Again, depending on the size of the hook you're going to use will depend on how thick the feather is you want. But given you've got the popper head, you might want to go with a slightly larger feather just to fill that void between the popper head and the marabou. And I'm just pretty much going to use all of this feather. I even want that little fluffy feather, parts of the feather at the back. Alright, and then bring that round tie that off, and you know, the grey colour sort of gives me a little bit of a contrast to the black popper head. Make sure that's tied in nicely, and at the same time build up some thread for the popper head to stick to. Alright, let's make sure that's all good. So there you go, you got that. Whip finish. Give it the plume so it doesn't come undone in there. Okay, now let's just check it. Okay, so it should push back onto the feather like that. So that's how it's going to sit. Just one thing I didn't mention at the beginning. The DInk heads, almost sounds like swearing, doesn't it? The DInk heads are perfectly round, all right? All I've done for the slider and to open up the gape of the hook is cut a flat section on one side, just with a pair of scissors, just a straight cut. As I said, that opens up the gape of the hook, so you're not crowding the hook with the head of the popper. All right, so now I'm just going to put some glue on the thread here, and the glue I use for poppers is this stuff. It's called Tarzan's Grip, and it's the Mega Bond. All right, now what this stuff does, as it dries, it expands slightly, so it fills the hole in the popper really well. But just be careful that you don't put too much on that it starts pushing back into the feather. That's my only caveat with that one. And I'll put it on and I'll move it around and make sure I get a bit of glue on the whole popper head, like that. And I'm going to just check that that straight bit is sitting horizontally. Alright, that's there, so you can see that. I've just got some glare coming from somewhere now. Alright, so that's that. You can see the flat section. Let that glue dry. Just tease out that feather once the glue's dried. And that's it, a very simple slider pattern.